I wasn't gonna watch it, but I did, and now I have thoughts. Hi besties, and welcome to another video on my channel. If you are a knitter or crocheter and you've spent any time at all online over the past couple of weeks, you have probably heard of the Game of Wool series, and you've probably also picked up on the fact that it's turning out to be quite controversial, bordering on what feels like rage bait, if you will. I am not one to watch series, game series, dramas, anything like that, but I got curious. I mean, my craft that I do as a literal job has a cozy British game show now. Well, I gotta give that a go, right? So today, let's talk about episode 1 of Game of Wool. I'm kinda late to the party, so I hope you don't mind. And this might be a long one, so get yourself a nice cup of tea, because, well, there is tea to be had. And grab a project, grab a blanket, some snacks, I don't know. Get cozy, because we're gonna get into it. We're not gonna watch the episode in its entirety, but I will recap what happens, step by step, in the episode, and add in some clips here and there for context, fair use, and all of that. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the Game of Wool. We start off with an opening shot of the Highlands, some cute sheep, and our knitters. First of all, I am happy to see a kind of diverse cast of knitters, and the fact that there are people of different ages in the challenge too. And I am a sucker for puns, and especially yarn and wool related ones, so I personally love the fact that it's a magical yarn barn.
Magical yarn barn.
The very first critiques I saw related to this programme were probably posted as the programme was first airing. That was people ragging on Tom Daley's outfit. I'm not here to do that. I'm not going to do that at all. It's definitely out there, but I love self-expression through clothes and makeup and hairstyles and all of that. And honestly, this is art, and you do you, boo. So we're not commenting on that today. Then we get into Tom describing kind of what the program is going to be about, which is obviously knitting, with individual challenges to show off skills and techniques, and team challenges. Honestly, in my opinion, mostly for the sake of entertainment and television. I will get more into this once we get to the team challenge of this first episode, but like gauge and such, how's it going to work out? We'll see. It's a fun idea. It's a fun idea, I'll give them that. And it will probably be fun to watch, but I have thoughts. Anyway, our judges Di Gilpin and Sheila Greenwell are introduced briefly after this, and then we get a dramatic collage of clips to sum up the program start. I am just going to pause the clip here of Holger bursting into the haberdashery. Will this tell us anything at all about future project? We have lots of balls of yarn, sweater quantities on the left side, some smaller skeins of yarn up on the wall, a hat form hiding almost out of frame, a stack of crochet turtles, probably just for the vibes, but I am intrigued. Massive rack of DMC thread, so I am guessing they have sponsored for product placement. No problem there. Crate of massive needles and hooks. These make me nervous, not gonna lie. There is also piles of what looks like wool tops here and there. This green one here and a yellow one back there, so will we get some spinning, or will this just be for really chunky knitting, maybe arm knitting? More yarn on the right hand side, as well as blocking mats and an iron board in the foreground. Also, I love how we're going into this episode with like a montage meant to capture your interest because drama happens. Where in like reality series, it's dramatics like, we need an ambulance, call 911, or people having a screaming match, really fighting, throwing stuff at each other. We get the craft equivalent. I need small sharp scissors, sew as fast as you can. I missed a stitch.
I need small sharp scissors.
So as fast as you can.
Okay. Oh, I've missed a stitch.
And that last one specifically is taking me out. As a seasoned knitter myself, missing a stitch is no big deal. It's literally no big deal. Even if it's laddered down and you've dropped a stitch a few rows down, no need to frog. You can just grab a crochet hook and pick it back up. It's no big deal. There is nothing to stress about missing a stitch. Anyway, that took us through the intro. We have some more scenic shots of Scotland and sheep. Tom tells us about what will happen in week 1 whilst this is going on. The contestants enter the yarn barn, oohing and eyeing, looking at the cones of yarn along the walls, incredibly staged by the way, but sets the mood for the start of the episode. It is now time for our first challenge, and Tom and our judges Di and Sheila enter the yarn barn with a quick re-explanation of the fact that it's a competition and one person will have to be cast off each episode. Another woolly pun, which is pretty funny. He also manages to call the judges These two boss stitches.
These two boss stitches.
And judging from their reaction, I'm not certain that was scripted, or at least I don't think Di and Sheila knew he was going to say that.
Seriously?
Cheeky? Again, pretty funny. Our first challenge is a solo challenge, and this is where we instantly, 4 minutes into the episode, get into some controversial stuff already. It's bad, so I'm gonna have a sip of tea. The contestants are asked to make a tank top. In my opinion, more of a vest or slip over kind of thing, but a tank top in Fair Isle knitting with chunky wool on big needles in 12 hours. To be perfectly fair to the challenge and the program, they said to reimagine and make a modern twist on a Fair Isle vest, but here we have got to pause and acknowledge the fact that there has been an uproar regarding this. Shetland Organisation of Knitters, among many others, have spoken out denouncing this challenge. Fair Isle knitting is a heritage craft done in a very specific way with very specific yarns, specific needles, specific ways of combining colours and patterns and specific terms used in the craft. And this challenge uses both terminology and techniques wrong. I am not from Shetland. I don't want to accidentally step on any further toes, so I will leave some links regarding this, including what Shetland Organisation of Knitters has said themselves in the description box, because I don't want to sit here and act like I know stuff about stuff when I actually don't really do Fair Isle knitting. But there is an issue with this in the programme. But from my understanding, the production team had even been in contact with the Shetland Organisation of Knitters, asking for advice and guidance in making this challenge, but that the advice had been, in their own words, completely ignored. I will interweave what I've researched and read about the critique whilst talking about the actual challenge from here on out, as it evolves over time with how the episode progresses. But they continue to describe the challenge. The tank top should be representative of the contestant's story and what defines them as a knitter, and it needs to include a few key elements.
Repeating patterns, peries, or motifs.
And this there is one of the terminology missteps. Peries isn't a word that is ever used in Fair Isle knitting. It should be peri patterns.
Don't let the people of Fair Isle down.
Don't let the people of Fair Isle down, is then said. And this feels like not so subtle foreshadowing. In my opinion, as a person who spends most of my time knitting, as it is quite literally my job, I think a better way of framing this challenge would have been to ask for doodle knitting. You can still have the repeating motifs, smaller borders of patterns, like what they want with a peries, and you tell a story with your doodles, kind of like Pacific Knit Coast designs and patterns. It would be the exact same challenge, but without the appropriation and misinformation. Another thing I want to touch on briefly is another thing people have been up in arms about, not related to appropriation, but more so the whole design of the challenge, the 12-hour time frame. If you have been around on my channel, you know I love short deadlines. I have a ton of videos where I make stuff within 24 hours, and I am a firm believer that you can get a lot more done in that time, or in 12 hours, than you'd believe. We just don't time ourselves, so we don't know. For someone who knits professionally, and this is going to be a super hot take, I am aware this challenge of knitting something in 12 hours is fine. But our contestants are a mix of amateurs, enthusiasts, all the way up to designers. So I guess this is a difficult challenge when you take that into consideration. But if they were all professional knitters, no problem. They also made the charts beforehand, and I assume also gauge swatches, and I think even practice garments. Adding this in as a side note, because I watched one of the contestants, Gordon's video uploaded after the fact, in which he showed a practice vest he had knit. So I think they all got to like practice on a separate garment before the show aired, or like before they filmed the actual episode of the challenge, so they knew they could do it, I guess. I don't know. Maybe not everybody did that. Maybe he just did his homework. I don't know. I haven't heard from anyone else than him. I don't think anyone else has uploaded anything outside of the show, but let me know, because I don't know. But anyway, back to what I was saying about time challenges. The chunky wool and big needles is going to work up super fast. A bigger person is going to have a disadvantage to a smaller person in a challenge like this, but I think they all knitted to specified measurements to fit a mannequin, not to fit their own bodies. It is more a question if you are quick with colour work or not, especially since, and this is another misstep, when it comes to feral knitting, the contestants will be knitting the top half of the vest flat, meaning you'd have to purl your colour work, which again is fine, albeit a little tricky when stressed maybe. Also, if you want to keep your colour dominance, you have to think.
To knit their tank tops, they will all start from the hem of the garment and work upwards using circular needles. Then they will move on to their feral peries and motifs. Once the body of the tank top is done, they switch to straight needles to create the arm and neck holes before finishing and weaving in any loose ends.
The graphic shows this was shaping. I don't know if people are going to shape it or not, we shall see. But either way, traditionally it's all knit in the round with steeking, and we'll get to that. And also steeking is also not a word used in feral knitting as far as I'm aware, but still it's a word that used in the knitting world, so we use it in the episode and also in this chat that you and I are having today. We're going to use steeking. But anyway, either way, we start the challenge with our knitters going shopping in the haberdashery.
This is my idea of heaven.
Same, bestie. Same. Everybody is busy knitting now, and honestly this looks cozy AF, but also really, really awkward. I think Holger has a really funny statement about the challenge.
Feral is very much what I like doing, but not on this yarn and not on this needle, so to tell me that I have to express myself on a super chunky yarn is like asking a vegetarian to express themselves with a medium of steak or something.
And I think he's not the only one with these feelings. His vest is inspired by a crochet chicken, and honestly I am living for this.
She came into being around the time as everybody seemed to have been knitting emotional support chickens.
I too never jumped on the emotional support chicken bandwagon. I've never knit one, but I would totally crochet one like this cutie. I wish we had gotten a shot of his actual colours though, together with the chicken, with a nonchalant chicken though. That's an editing miss in my opinion. Then Isaac talks about how his vest has a bunch of silly geese on it.
My main motif is a series of geese. My mum calls me a silly goose, my girlfriend calls me a silly goose. I'm just a silly goose.
And I am here for that as well.
Feral is largely a lot of what I do when I knit for myself, so I sort of feel I know what I'm doing.
Gordon is knitting on 3D PNs and has extensive feral knitting experience. He's sticking his armholes to continue knitting in the round, which if I were a judge in this show, which I'm not, but if I were, honestly, that would be bonus points for me because of using an actual technique that's used in actual feral knitting. But here we first hear this technique being called risky.
Gordon is the only knitter attempting the risky traditional feral method of steeking, which means to cut open the neck and armholes. You heard that right. Cut into the knitting.
And you can't spell steek without spelling eek.
You can't spell steek without spelling eek.
Yikes on bikes. Here is another point of contention with both Shetland knitters and knitters globally, as steeking is a technique widely used in many knitting traditions, including Scandinavia, where I am from. Steeking is something that I, despite being somebody who's knit all my life, is actually doing for the first time right now in a project. I just never did it before. No good reason, it just never happened. But it's not a risky technique. Maybe it's a little scary cutting into your work, but it's not risky at all. And I wish a show dedicated to knitting and hopefully raising the public knowledge and interest for knitting wouldn't paint it in this light and perpetuate the kind of myth that steeking is risky, because that is an existing myth in the knitting community.
It won't ravel out. People think it'll just completely disintegrate, but it won't.
Gordon sums it up pretty well. So yeah. Steeking, not risky. Why is the drama of this episode steeking? But anyway, I have a little nitpick about editing here, and one of those points where I feel like this is painting a narrative that I'm not on board with. We all struggle to get our needle into our stitches at times. I do too, but I tend to cut that out of my videos. The struggly parts, I tend to cut that out, not because I want to look perfect, but because of cinematic flow. I feel like this right here is a very deliberate cut, and I am giving bombastic side-eye to that. One thing I will give props to editing for though is all of the click-clack ASMR of knitting needles added to the shots of them knitting. It's really cozy. I love the sound of knitting needles, so I appreciate it, especially since I watched this episode a couple of times to research what I wanted to say, and you know, I've watched it a couple of times and with earphones, so I really get the click-clacky in my earphones. It's really cozy. So I appreciate this. But a lot of other parts of the editing I do not appreciate as much. But anyway, we move on. We get some more talking about the designs with other contestants, and I also gotta appreciate Dipty's hexagon cardigans. I've spotted 2 so far in this episode, one in the like recap or like preview part of the start of the episode, and this blue and black one she's wearing here. Gorgeous. I love a good hexacardi. Her design is so adorable too, with the bunny stuffy and hearts. I adore it. Introductions continue, and then we get to Meadow, the 18-year-old fashion student. I can't help but wonder why they have a photo with her and a crochet garment, and they mention getting into knitting recently. And also later in the episode she talks about having knit since childhood because her grandma told her. I don't know what they did there with the script and the editing, and I think they could have chosen another photo, or maybe they meant she picked up crochet recently but hadn't knit all her life. I don't know. I'm not a fan. That feels like not really thought through. They could have also just gone with gotten into fibre arts recently, but that also feels like it's not accurate since she talks about having been taught knitting as a child. So I don't know. Again, maybe a nitpick, but the cardigan and bag in the photo are super cute though. After halfway mark and some more introductions, we catch up with Gordon again with more talk about how tricky and risky steeking is going to be due to the chunky yarn.
I decided to do what I always do, and I'm steeking the armholes. Phone in.
Steeking using a chunkier yarn will be tricky because this wool isn't as sticky, so it won't cling together like a Shetland wool, which is traditionally used in Fair Isle.
That's quite a risky decision, Gordon. So timing.
Timing, yes. I'm hoping I'll be okay, but I don't think I'm going to be sitting around having a cup of tea.
The judge mentioning risky and timing makes me think this is another editing thing to paint a narrative. I think rather than the steeking, this was probably about how we now, after the episode, know that he had to frog around 20 rows of knitting. There was also a knitted pocket involved. None of this was mentioned in the episode though, but I think rather than the steeking, this discussion was probably about either the frogging or the pocket, and editing just wanted to make this into the drama about the steeking, because that's drama for some reason. Again, I have linked Gordon's video talking about this and his experience, and he's also talking about steeking and Fair Isle and his ill-portrayed credentials when it comes to his music career. He talks about stuff that the show got wrong. I've linked that in the description box. It was actually kind of an interesting watch, and he seems like a really sweet person. But yeah, anyway, I don't think this was about the steeking. I just think they want to make the steeking into a big deal. Moving on.
Right, I don't knit for barely anyone but myself. And yes, I have kids, and no, I don't knit for them.
Perfectly valid take. Kids grow fast and they are messy. So I also knit for barely anyone but myself, which is also maybe a hot take. I don't know, but I like to not knit for people. But also, I just have to pause everything and say Elsa's top that she's wearing is gorgeous. Is it hand knit? Does anyone know the pattern? Because I need one. I want to make one. It is beautiful. Please tell me if you know. The knitting continues, and it's mostly shots of our contestants being stressed and kind of snappy.
Dipty.
Honestly, I haven't got the time, sorry.
Which, fair, to be honest. And I see all these ends in a bunch of the shots, and I'm wondering if people have heard about weaving in ends as they go. I think they said at the start that they wanted to see ends woven in the projects. Just a little nitpick again from me. Weaving ends as you go, maybe? Because I can see rows that are just plain one colour rows. Very easy to weave in ends in those rows, but I digress. We get into the drama that is when Gordon cuts the steeks. Editing had fun with this one. Dramatic music, shots of other contestants looking up from the work, concerned looks on their faces, probably concerned about something completely different, like Tom saying, oh, you've only got 30 minutes left or something like that. And Isaac says almost exactly what Tom said earlier in the episode, almost verbatim.
It's not really feasible to do steeking with such a chunky yarn because the risk of the steeks coming loose is far, far greater. I certainly admire Gordon for doing it. Takes guts.
And this feels like a scripted thing he was asked to say, to be honest with you. Maybe it's not. Maybe that's me being wrong, but it feels like it. It sounds like it.
Gordon's steeking.
Oh my god, he's steeking. Come on, it's not that dramatic. What is dramatic AF in my opinion though is, oh my god, he's cutting his yarn with school scissors. Can we get these people proper fabric scissors, please? Or did we use up all of the budget for the huge needles in the haberdashery? Now that we've gotten past all of the drama of the knitting, let's have a look at the judging. I kind of fast forward through Lydia, Simon, Stephanie and Meadows tank tops, which are all looking great honestly, and once again taking a while longer on Gordon's project.
The walk of shame.
Now, I will say the presentation is not amazing, but we all know what happened with the frogging and that making it so that he didn't really have time to do what he had planned on doing with adding ribbing around the steeks and stuff like that, and also the pocket looking the way it does. I wish they would have given extra points for the steeking rather than making it into an issue, as they are once again reaffirming.
You were steeking.
Yes.
Quite an undertaking in the chunky yarn.
I think that's what has caused it to be more complicated. Those are difficult decisions when you're a steeker.
That it was quite the undertaking and not the best idea. They could have also mentioned the fact that it wasn't finished due to the frogging. They probably did. It didn't end up in the final cut. Maybe it's editing again, maybe they were being fair, but I don't know, because this is what we have.
Be careful.
Oh, are you okay?
But we also spend a little bit longer on Ailsa's beach-inspired vest with her dog Brillo on it as well, with a sailor collar and a porthole in the back. This was honestly a very well thought through design and with beautiful finishing. So we already get a sense of who's going and who's staying.
I find this quite emotional. Sorry, because it's just so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
But we also look at Isaac and Holger's vests, to then finally end the judging with Dipty's vest, which didn't fit over Tom's head.
No.
I kind of think that should have knocked a bunch of points. It just barely fit over the mannequin's neck, and with no stretch around the neck hole, it's of course not going to go over a human head. With a stretchy bind off, it might have been very tight, but it looked like a regular one, like, you know, you knit a stitch and then you take the previous stitch over the one, you know, a regular bind off, which is, if you're not careful, a really, really non-stretchy bind off. It's a shame though, because the motif is so cute. The rest of the vest looks pretty good, honestly. So yeah, this bunch of the last few contestants feels like these are ones that are potentially winning and potentially going, which is also probably very, very deliberate. Anyway, that sums up the first task and the first half of episode 1. Now it is time for a team challenge, a sofa cover.
You're going to be working in 2 teams to transform a sofa.
We want you to come up as a team with a fitted sofa cover using a chunky yarn.
We're looking for a really cohesive design concept. All parts of the sofa must be covered.
When we walk in, we really want to go, wow.
More chunky yarn for a cohesive design covering all parts of the sofa, and this sounds like a really fun challenge, honestly, but this brings me back to the very brief point I made at the start of the episode. This is just for the lulz. Knitters have very different gauge, knit at different speeds, different techniques to how we even knit and hold our yarns. Some throw, some flick, some do continental, some do English style. So this is honestly just, in my opinion, something for the entertainment value. Both teams hatch a plan. Holger takes the lead of his team with a mold design, knit in strips, and Isaac takes the lead for the other team for a sunset holiday scene. The sunset is knit with intarsia. I would probably have gone with modular knitting for this design, honestly.
Isaac is tackling the centerpiece of his team's design, the sunset.
I've been quite ambitious with what I'm aiming to do. Intarsia is a different beast.
And we are knitting for 10 hours this time, and absolutely enormous needles. I almost feel like this would go so much faster with smaller needles and more modular pieces, but I'm not in the show, so what do I know? I feel like this entire thing is also very, very scripted, or at least in editing, being made into a narrative again. By this point, you can just tell who's getting cast off.
Cruise ship entertainer Gordon is knitting the beach using garter stitch, a beginner-friendly stitch.
They say that, and here I am spotting a freaking knitting belt on him. I know it sounds like the entire internet is just defending Gordon at this point, but honestly, this first episode did him dirty, made it out to look like he's somehow made it into this show, into this competition, but has no clue what he's doing. This bloke obviously knows how to knit. Also, I am jealous. I too want to try knitting with the knitting belt. Anyway, rant over. Hang on, I also wonder how long this was actually filmed over, as 12 plus 10 hours are 22 hours, and they are obviously not knitting for that long in one go. I'd be so annoyed having to dress up with the same clothes and hairstyle for days just to look like the same day, and also it's also annoying to me knowing that they cannot possibly be knitting for 22 hours straight, and then just knowing that they, like, I do this in my videos but I'm upfront with it, like I knit for 24 hours but I never knit in one go, but I change my clothes. I make it clear that it's a different day. I don't know, that it just bothers me for some reason. I don't know, it just really bothers me. But again, it's television, doesn't really matter, but I don't know, for some reason that grinds my gears. But back to sofa covers. Both teams are starting to finish their covers, sort of.
The sunset team are still knitting their individual panels.
I'm slightly concerned that they're going to finish in time.
We need to start joining. Currently, we don't have enough pieces to cover the sofa yet, which is slightly panic-inducing. Do you think your time might be better spent joining pieces together?
If I start joining stuff together, there's going to be a massive hole.
Okay,
if I don't start joining stuff together and other people are doing it, there's going to be a smaller hole.
Okay.
I don't want to say that I've bitten off more than I can chew, but I think it just took me a bit of time to find my flow.
I thought from the start that Dipty was not quite on board with the whole design of the sunset idea, and this exchange cracks me up because he knows, he just doesn't want to admit it, but gradient sofa is done, and with feet, and it's real cute. Honestly, I like the design a lot. It turned out great.
Should we offer to help? Yeah.
Do you think? Come on. Guys, do you need help pinning up?
Holger's team ends up helping Isaac's team out with covering the last bits of their sofa. I love to see it. The teamwork is great. But the vision for this sofa was good. But again, I think modular pieces would have been better in terms of speed knitting, and there is a lot going on with it.
Well, I mean, it's a very ambitious design. It saddens me to have to say that it's not properly finished, is it? It's not finished. There's some car crashes.
Well, there's lots actually.
Yeah.
There has had to be some intarsia work done here, which is commendable.
The stocking stitch going to garter. There's no cohesion, is there?
No.
The judges have pretty much the same critiques, not with the modular bits, that's just me, but there's a lot going on, it's not really cohesive. And the gradient sofa wins this challenge.
Di and Sheila, can I ask you what you think of the gradient sofa?
It's the cables that strike me first, but you would probably say it's the sweep of the colour.
Colour.
Going through.
It's very cuddly.
It does have feet.
The feet are fabulous.
It hasn't been neatly finished
No.
at all.
It's actually, do you know, a very simple design, and we did want something that is like wow, wow, wow. It's wow, but it's not incredible.
One sofa demonstrated a better design concept and execution overall, and that sofa is the ombre.
They say it's not wow factor. There is also a cat. I'm sorry for all of the sniffles right now. It's cohesive, it's fully covered. It's not wow, but it's the winner. I have got to admire the Intarsia work though. I love some good pixel art. And look at the gradient in like the Intarsia gradient in the sky around the sun. It's really nicely done. I know I had things to say about modular knitting being better for this, but again, that was mainly for a speed perspective. If he had more time for this, I think it would have been great. But also, I'm not a fan of the like joins that are purple. I don't know. But anyway, with the challenges done, it is time to crown the big knitter of the week who gets a badge.
It's time to hear who has knit big and whose journey has started to unravel.
So our first big knitter of the competition is Ailsa.
And to commemorate the occasion, I'd love to present to you the sheep badge.
And it's also time to get rid of one of our knitters. Ailsa wins the prize for best knitting of the week, unsurprisingly, with her beach vest and also being on the winning team in the sofa challenge. And so it is time to cast someone off, and we all know by now who it's going to be, right?
This is a competition, and sadly we have to say goodbye to someone.
The camera dramatically zooms in on Isaac, and then Dipty, and lastly, Gordon. And that's him out of the competition. To sum up episode 1, I feel like the filming and maybe most crucially the editing had a rushed feeling to it. Many cuts didn't quite make sense. Some scripting here and there didn't match up with what was said later in the episode. You can tell someone said something and they used part of it to make it into something else, and then we have the whole STEEKING debacle, like bestie. Oof. The continued use of too big yarn on too big needles were honestly quite disastrous and bad looking results. Kind of feels like, I don't know, it makes me feel some type of way, like knitting isn't being taken seriously, maybe a little bit infantilized. Same with the misinformation, especially regarding the Fair Isle knitting. It feels like this was not written by people who knit, and to be perfectly honest, it also feels like it wasn't really written for people who knit. And maybe that's just it. It's cozy television, a feel-good show for winding down on the sofa with a cup of tea, and not something you're necessarily supposed to sit and dissect like we have done today. But I feel like as knitters, it is within our rights to get our stitches in a twist over it and to be a bit upset. The misinformation presented about knitting and heritage crafts, it's sloppy, especially considering they did consult experts on the topic, and I am not a fan of when I can really tell things have been edited to paint a narrative that wasn't there to begin with. Basically cherry picking words or pieces of sentences to string them together into something new. It's a skill that reality TV and game show editors have, but I don't like it. I really don't like it. The fact that the prolific and dedicated feral knitter used correct techniques and even made his own chunky DPNs for actual proper feral technique knitting. The fact that he got frogged, honestly, why didn't they go with frogged instead of casting off? But anyway, whatever. The fact that this happened makes for good television, makes for good drama, something to keep people talking, something to make you want to come back and see the next episode to see if there's going to be another car crash like that. Yeah, it makes you want to come back for more, even if it is purely to rage watch. So in that regard, it is a success in it, and that's kind of my takeaway from this first episode. Sometimes things are intentionally kind of bad. I didn't expect a knitting game show to be so full of rage bait though. Like I mentioned, I have linked some resources and also Gordon's channel, his video, in the description box down below if you want to read some more, and I will go on to watch episode 2. So let me know if you want to hear me yap about that as well, and I will totally make this into kind of a series. Let me know if you want to hear me talk you through the rest of the episodes. I know not everybody can watch them in their countries. Let me know if that's interesting to you, and I will probably talk more about Game of Wool. I know episode 2 raises some questions about contracts and designs and ethics regarding all of that, so let me know if you want to hear my thoughts on that as well in an upcoming video. Making commentary is kind of new to me. I watch commentary every now and then, but I've never made it myself, so let me know if you like this format. I don't know that I will continue making commentary after Game of Wool, but we'll see. Maybe we will. Maybe we will talk about knitting drama every now and then. But yeah, I want to thank you all so very much for watching today and for hanging out with me and for getting through this first episode of Game of Wool. a few weeks after it's aired. Sorry for being late on the ball, but I've been doing other things. And like I said at the start, I wasn't gonna watch it, but I did. And now I have thoughts, so. But I want to hear about what you've been working on today whilst watching. Tell me in a comment down below what's on your needles, on your hooks, on your looms, whatever you're working on your spinning wheel. I'm very curious to hear. And also, did I miss anything in my coverage? Did I miss something obvious that I should have nitpicked and dissected? Tell me if I missed anything. We can follow up with a shorter video. Do you agree that it is rage baity, or do you think it's unintentionally kind of bad? Please keep comments respectful though. We are all kind of up in arms about this show. I know, I am aware we are all kind of angry about it, but can we please keep the comments respectful? Thank you. But yeah, if you also don't feel like chatting, that is completely fine too. Go ahead and leave some, what emojis do we want this time? Tea, anything drama related. Leave some emojis below and I will emoji right back at you. Great. Also, while you are down in the comments, please also take a small second to like the video if you liked it, as that helps me out a ton. Thank you. And also, if you are new here, hi. Hello, welcome. So great to see you. So happy to have you here. Thank you for tuning in today and hearing me yap forever about Game of Wool 3 weeks after it's come out. Thank you for being here. If you are new and you'd like to keep seeing what I get up to on the channel in the future with my videos, please consider clicking the subscribe button down below and also ring the bell to get notified whenever I upload a new video. I mainly do knitting and crochet and other crafting on this channel. I don't usually sit and talk like this. For instance, we just made a video series making this shawl, and right now I am crafting away on a hexie cardie for Christmas, which is exciting. That's coming out soon. So if you want to see that pattern come out soon, consider clicking the subscribe button. But yeah, we do all kinds of crafty things on here, like knit and crochet challenges, project videos, cozy vlogs. Vlogmas is coming up. It's going to be a great time. And also I'm live on Mondays, if that's something you enjoy, for a crafting hangout. So yeah, if any of this sounds like your kind of thing, feel free to stick around and join the little cozy crafting club we've got going here on the channel. And also, if you would like to get extra cozy, we also have memberships open for the extra cozy crafting club or the super cozy crafting club. You can check that out down below as well. You'll get a little yarn badge and some stickers to use and some extra photos of the cats. The cats have not made an appearance today. You just hear Elsa in the background. I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry. She's just the cutest. Look at her. Look at my cat. Gonna zoom in on her. There we go. Hello, Elsa. She's real sleepy. That's kind of it for today. I also have links to my socials and my patterns on Ravelry and Ko-fi if that's interesting. So yeah, feel free to check that out as well. Like I said, I've got resources related to what we talked about today in the description as well. But yeah, other than that, I'm gonna let you go and enjoy the rest of your day. So you have a fantastic time now. Take care of yourselves. You guys have a great time, and I will see you again very, very soon in my next video. Bye!